Ian, you know, the No Man's Sky has been a topic on this podcast for a few different times and
Yay!
various reasons, and people went after you for not understanding what was going on. And
No, I did understand what was going on. They just didn't like the fact that I liked the game.
that you still like it, even though it was semi-falsely advertised beforehand.
Well, yeah.
But now, Ian, there's been a few different major updates, and now the game is in a totally different spot than when it was first released. Like, what was that, 2 years ago?
2 years. Almost 2 years ago, exactly. It was released early October in 2016.
Jesus, that seems like a lifetime ago.
Yep.
That's when a certain NES Guidebook came out.
Well, hello.
That's almost like how you mark time now for me in my life.
Yeah, it's weird. So, No Man's Sky is a game created by Hello Games, a developer located in the UK, and it's a space exploration game, essentially. Came out 2 years ago, was hyped heavily in its lead up as
Sony backed it. They're like,
Yes.
this is going to be our big PS4 game.
Sony backed it. It was essentially being created by an indie studio. The team was no larger than 20 individuals at its highest point. They had the head of the game, the head of development, Sean Murray, was very enthusiastic about it. Had a lot of things that he wanted to put in the game, and the basic idea was you had this universe that was almost infinite. In reality, it's about 18 quintillion planets that there are somewhere in this galaxy that No Man's Sky created.
Procedurally generated.
And the idea of the game was you could fly around basically seamlessly within a star system. You could warp to other star systems. And the idea was discovery. You could land, scan various plants, flora, fauna that would show up, name them. Those would be procedurally generated. A lot of times they would look different. And even if they didn't look entirely different than something else you'd see before, they would have different stats, perhaps contain different elements for mining. Different little things in their biology and their makeup. The previews that were shown for No Man's Sky were not exactly what was delivered. It showed, giant beasts that,
Brontosaurus-sized beasts.
Yeah, brontosaurus-sized beasts.
Graphic style was totally different.
Ringed planets, things of that nature that weren't in the final product.
And more. We're probably missing a bunch of stuff like how being able to pilot freighters and stuff. Was that, yeah, things like that.
Well, a lot of things were inferred too, just from what was in the video.
So there was a massive disappointment with this game, and then what was it? The coverage within a month or two, 90% of the fan base had abandoned it. Something massive like that, where people were done with it already.
So I'd been looking forward to the game for quite some time, and had put myself on media blackout and had somehow missed most of these promises. I got the game. I enjoyed it. It was relaxing. Just flying around to the different planets, checking them out, seeing what was going to be on them. The fauna was a bit disappointing. Some of them would definitely look like weird Lego stuff pieced together.
Yeah.
Not all of it was as bad as they made it out to be. Certainly the stuff that you would see online was picked specifically to look bad. We know how the internet works. They want the worst to look as bad as possible when people are complaining about it. So no, not everything looked exactly as shitty as it was shown. But it was definitely not what was promised. But the games definitely still had a fairly solid foundation. And there were things that I enjoyed about it and other people liked about it. There was a feeling of loneliness. There was also a feeling of calm. And the basic engine and the basic idea was solid. So Hello Games kind of disappeared. But they never stopped working on the game. They just stayed out of the media spotlight and they kept working on it. And they did a number of expansions. One was the Foundation expansion, which allowed base building.
Yeah.
You could find little bases on the planets, and with the Foundation expansion, it allowed you to claim these bases and then start building off on them. And there were other expansions as well that added vehicles, and added little graphical upgrades and things like this. And it all culminated in over the year. They added a bunch of they did a bunch of like alternate reality games in the outside world that the fan base got caught up in, because there was a fan base that grew and continued to play over those 2 years. And it all culminated in what was called No Man's Sky Next, which was the big update that was released this past Tuesday.
1.5.
Yep.
So this to many people is the promise finally delivered 2 years later, what they thought this game was probably going to be like or wanted it to be like.
So this is huge, and the response to it has been pretty much nothing but positive.
So what do we have in this update, Ian, that's really important?
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah, you have freighters that you can pilot.
Yay!
So you can have up to 4 ships in them at once. You have mission boards everywhere. You have
Real multiplayer, right?
Well, I'll get to it. So yeah. So I don't know where some of these enhancements may have come in, because I didn't play much of the expansions after Foundation, which was base building.
Okay.
So let's just go from what's new since vanilla, if you were one of those people who fell off. Base building, improved space combat, multiplayer.
That's huge. That one alone.
Warp gates. So you can easily transfer back to previous star systems that you've visited without needing to actually pilot back to them.
Okay.
The warp gates will let you jump to various bases you're building. Infinite base building, meaning you don't need to find a base before you can build a base. You can just drop a base computer and start building a base computer.
Character customizer.
Character customization. You can play in third person now in both outside the ship and in the ship.
Okay.
Enhanced photo mode, which is great, but not that important. New weapons. So there's also a mining beam. There's also a terraforming beam, so you can now terraform areas on the planets.
Missions and structure. It's like, according to this, there's more structure at the beginning of the game.
Oh, yeah, there's more structure at the beginning of the game, so there's a whole new tutorial.
More mission types.
There's a ton more mission types. You can...
Wow. Archaeology mission type. That's pretty cool.
You can...
Freighter attack, feeding.
Farming.
Photography mission. Defense.
Photography, farming. Freighter commanding. You can now add frigates to your freighters and send them out on missions. I mean, the difference is night and day.
Graphical enhancements.
It's essentially if you played the first one and then are jumping into this, it's 1.5 makes sense. It's like when someone calls a game, well, it's not exactly a sequel, but it's a 1.5. That's what this is.
This is a true 1.5.
This is almost a sequel. If you did not play the incremental upgrades, this is almost a sequel. And even people who played the upgrades are like, no, this is almost a sequel. They regenerated the entire galaxy when Next started.
Vast oceans of visually improved bodies of water with new continental terrain types.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just scrolling through the 1.5.
Yeah.
All the new stuff. This is holy shit.
Underwater.
Overhauled the UI.
The UI is a lot better. You can now, there's like quick access to all sorts of shit.
Players with freighters can summon any of their personal starship fleet at any time.
Yep.
Maintenance and repair interactions. Visual overhaul.
Yeah, I can
Space Station Marketplace.
Oh yeah, the space. If Jesus Christ,
that wasn't there before.
Well, there was like a simple trade center, but now you can dock at space stations, and there's alien marketplaces. There's way more aliens on the space stations.
You can buy some stuff.
There's there's a new
resources.
There's a new currency that you get in different ways than just your money for blueprints and stuff like that.
Find and excavate buried ruins with a terrain manipulator to unearth locked ancient treasures. So so it's more chase items, things like that.
So instead of just like getting instead of just like finding elements and stuff on the ground, it'll like sometimes point you.
You can go underground.
Well, there's cave systems, but it'll also like you can scan and it'll point things underground, and then you use your excavator beam to like dig out and find like treasure buried underground.
Were there mines before in previous releases or no?
There were cave systems, but they're a lot more. They're way more complicated now.
Looks like creature movements are now more natural, intelligent. AI is improved.
Oh, the creatures look a lot better, a lot cooler.
Holy shit! So
When you scan, you get so much more information out of what you scan now. Tells you what the secondary and it tells you it's nuts.
real-time missions, scheduled missions, multiplayer missions, overhaul tutorial, new mission types, envoy mission, guild envoy missions. Now they have guilds.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't even, I'm not even part of a guild yet.
Players can own multiple bases, hundreds of new base parts. Joint base building. That's a cool idea.
Oh,
so you work with a partner to build a base?
Yeah. My buddy and I were we found a planet and built a 2-story wooden shack the other day just for kicks for like an hour.
Crafting and resources.
Oh yeah, there's like refining of materials now.
Graphics and planet generations all improved. There's a laundry list. I mean, this is insane.
It's nuts.
Space stations and buildings, new space station marketplace, new style for stairs, teleporters different, and explorations, controls and combat. I've
put in close to 20 hours on it since last Tuesday.
Stability fixes. Okay.
So in a week, I've put almost 20 hours back in.
So if they came out with this game originally like this, with all this shit, this would have been game of the year probably. Like,
we would have
running
had,
away.
It's still a very particular type of game. There's almost no action. I mean, you can definitely
space combat though, right?
You can gear it towards that if you want. But I mean, I try to stay out of combat. Yes, you can definitely, if you want to, you can play mostly space combat if you want, or you can play mostly just fucking around.
Can you be like a space pirate? You can try to rip people off and blow them up.
I haven't figured out how to yet, but you can totally take on other frigates and freighters and stuff like that and loot them. But yeah, I just haven't done it.
Okay, so you can do that.
Yeah.
So you can still play how you want. You can just farm out somewhere with your crew and just raise, I don't know, can you like raise fruits and veggies or something? I don't know.
There is farming. I haven't done any farming yet.
So now they're to the point where, again, this is what people wanted originally. Maybe not to this extent, but they wanted a lot of these foundational pieces to be there. Now they're there. So 2 years later, will people go back and buy this fresh? And they're at least going to recapture the people, hopefully, that abandoned it 2 years ago. They're like, what the hell? This isn't what I wanted. But I wonder if they can do a fresh sort of repush to get new people to buy. So there's a lot of time and resources going into basically crafting what is like a semi-sequel at this point.
It's been one of the top selling games on Steam for the past 3 weeks.
Okay.
They released it on Xbox One. I don't know how it's doing on Xbox One because it's the first release on Xbox One. They're charging almost full price for it. I think it's like $50.
But on Steam, how much is it on Steam?
It's, I think,
save 50% off. So they're selling this.
They're selling it on Steam. I think it's like 30. I think it's 25 or 30, which is insane for what you get.
And they've already announced update 1.51 and 1.52.
Oh, those are already out. Those are bug fixes.
Little bug fixes.
But they announced that they're
it's $30 on Steam, so it's half price.
And then it's $30 digitally on PS4 right now
until August 6th.
But used copies at like Luna, $20, and at I think GameStop right now is even doing used copies, and I think for a while they were doing new copies at $20 too.
I thought I saw I think Destin from IGN. I thought he tweeted something saying that it was on clearance or on sale at Walmart for like 10. They have a bunch laying around that.
Yeah.
So if you want to get it in for cheap on the console, it's much easier.
Yeah, and this update is free. So if you go find a copy of this for $10, you get this game for, you're in. I mean, that's it.
For us PC folks, you have until August 6th to get it for $30, which probably still seems like a good deal because now it's fulfilling the promise that a lot of us were like, okay, this is going to be the game that we'll never get away from. Like you might never see Ian again. This might be it.
Like I said, 20 hours in the past week I've already put back into this. So it's wonderful to see. It's great if you have a mind for role playing too, because the stories really kind of write themselves in your head.
Sure.
It was fun. I took off the other day on my off a planet and I took off to a new star system, and there was a distress call, and I took out the space pirates that were attacking. And I was told to, come land in that freighter. and I did, and the pilot wanted nothing to do with, and this is actually what happened. The pilot told me that he decided he wanted nothing to do with piloting a freighter anymore and would prefer to just live a life of leisure as a second command, and gave me the freighter. So freighters
This was an NPC or a human?
NPC.
Okay.
So freighters that normally cost a shitload, I got a freighter for free.
You're a captain of a freighter now.
I'm a captain of a freighter
You have
with
a crew yet? You have a crew?
Yeah, it's the little frogmen.
Little frogmen.
Gek, I think is what they're called. Yeah, because he didn't want the stress anymore. He was too stressed out.
Did it stress you taking on that responsibility in that role?
That's pretty nice.
It's pretty nice to
Pretty nice.
you sit in your chair.
I have a 6-ship garage, but I only have 1 ship.
Is it cross-play between console and
No,
PC? Damn it! I could have shacked up with Ian's freighter.
There's no crossplay, but how the multiplayer works is great. So when you start, you can either go into your game, which loads your last save, or you can join someone else's game, which basically just dumps you in their star system, whatever star system they're exploring, and it shows you where they are. And you can talk if you want, or you can just fly up to them. But once you're in their system, that's usually, however far away from where you were, where you start. So, but that gives you a jump point to that. So by playing with more people, it's shooting you all over the system. So the more people you play with, the more places you can pop around to in the universe via your warp gates. So it helps you cover distance real quick.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. And we'll see who gets to the middle of the galaxy. That was the secret thing. I don't know what that means.
I think people have already probably done that. I can't focus on a main storyline in the game. I'm just doing too much shit. So anyways, it's great.
So it's cool. I'm glad that Sean Murray, he apologized, looked like, for not having this game originally where it was supposed to come out, but his little plucky team has worked on it, and now it's something that, Ian's going to become addicted to. You never see him again.
They're updating it weekly with new missions from here on out.
And there you go.
Yep.